pensions. What is the status?
I mean, the first point that I have to make about this is that the position that we're in today is down to previous governments not taking action when action was needed. Angela Moffat of the Prospect Union Group warned the government and said, look, you need to do something now. Don't delay it, it needs to be done now. So here we are 8 years later, and only now something is starting to be done, and I still think there needs to be more to be done. Another issue that we have is that the government hasn't put aside money against a liability. But I think there are other measures that we need to look at. Is a long-term strategy is, if you look at Denmark, for example, Denmark has the best pension scheme in the world, and that's reported by the International Mercer report. It's world-renowned, they have the best pension scheme. Their public sector pension is run by, different from the Isle of Man, in that the Danish government pay contributions, the public sector people pay contributions, but that money is paid into a private sector pension fund. So rather than the Danish government having the responsibility both paying contributions and the annual pension, is that they only pay the contributions. So if you put that into today in our money, basically if we had that Danish system in place now, we would probably save around £60 million a year. So I think what we need to look at is the gold-plated pensions. I think what we have at the moment is a defined benefits pension scheme. Another intermediate measure would be that we move from defined benefits pension scheme to a career average pension scheme, which is what the UK have implemented. With the view long-term to move to a defined contributions pension scheme, which, as I say, would have to be 20, 30, even 40 years down the line. So implementing a career average, basically what that is, rather than when a person retires, the annual pension is paid on their final salary, it's based on their average salary over the year. So that would give us a saving of probably around 4 or 5%. You know, again, it's not going to be a massive amount of savings, but it is all contributing to alleviate the burden on government revenue, which is what we need to do. The other thing that we need to address is the retirement age of public sector workers. Because what's happened is the private sector, the majority of our labour force, has had to increase their age of retirement. So, you know, to the age of 65, and in X years' time, that's going to go to 68, to 70, and so on as we grow older. So if we raise just automatically from those jobs that aren't strenuous, you know, from 55 to 58, let's say. Again, it's a small change, but it will have an impact on overall, revenue. So I think, three main points is, number one is the long-term strategy, is to move from gold-plated pensions to defined contribution pensions in the future. It's the way the world's going. I mean, if you look at the FTSE 100, there's only around 9 or 11 companies who offer defined benefits pension schemes. The rest are defined contributions. Number two is increasing the age of retirement, I think, because if you look at that point in isolation, once someone retires, unless you make that role redundant, is you're then taking on another staff member, you're paying them a full-time wage, and then you're paying a pension. So again, that will help plug the gap. And thirdly is to put a cap on how much people can take as a lump sum. Another thing that I think the Isle of Man needs to introduce, and I would certainly be pushing for this, is the workplace pension. I know it's a UK policy, but I think it would be fantastic for the Isle of Man to introduce also that people over the age of 21 earning over £10,000 are automatically enrolled on a workplace pension. So I think to have this added security measure where individuals are building up a pot over the course of their career, and it can be as minimum as 1%. So the employer will pay 1%, the employee will pay 1%. It's a defined contribution scheme, so it's basically as flexible and as much as what the individual pays in and so on, what they negotiate with the company. But with that, they can, when they retire, they can either take that as a lump sum. Bear in mind, this doesn't come from government, this is a private sector company. So they can either take that as a full lump sum that they can use alongside the state pension, or they take a lump sum and then they purchase an annuity so that they have a defined income coming in each year. So I think that would be a fantastic thing.